It turns out Trump may be right. People are coming into Canada from all over the world intending to jump the border into the United States. Welcome to my channel, y'all. I hope you're having a great day. Recently, a story broke that a lot of Indian students were coming into Canada on fake visas, not intending to go to school as their visa allowed them to, but instead to jump the border into the United States. There have even been TikTok videos from human traffickers from India who show how they can get people over the border, and they encourage people to come to Canada for that purpose. This story has recently hit the mainstream media, but the story was not originally broke by Canadian media. It came to light from India media because the Indian government was doing the investigation. Our agencies, our law enforcement, weren't even competent enough to get the job done.
Some serious accusations coming from India, that country claiming some Canadian colleges have links to a human smuggling operation.
This is extremely unprecedented, given the fact that this is human trafficking connected to study permit regime in Canada, as opposed to the asylum system.
India alleges Indian nationals are coming here on student visas, but have no plans to actually study here. Instead, they are then using Canada as a jumping off point to try and cross into the U.S. illegally.
So what's happening is there are a lot of legitimate students coming from India to go to Canadian colleges, many of those are being scammed. However, there are also a lot of Indian students who are coming here with no intention to study. They are paying human traffickers in India, to parent groups in India, in order to get them to Canada on fake student visas, in order for them to jump the border and go into the United States. And this is one of the things that Trump is really concerned about, because we're not stopping that. A lot of people have suggested that it's not the Canadian authorities' business to stop people from exiting Canada. It is the U.S. authorities' duty to stop them from entering into the United States. But that's not exactly true, because they're coming into Canada illegally to begin with in order to jump our porous northern border. And that's the problem. And that's what's getting Trump all hot under the collar. And really, it should, because it's not just people, it's also drugs. It's the precursors that are making fentanyl, and it's fentanyl itself that is being produced in Canada and then brought across the border. A lot of that has to do with our very liberal drug laws. So Trump isn't just blowing hot air here. He actually has some legitimate concerns.
Let's bring in Robert Hewish, an international relations analyst at Dalhousie University. Robert, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Roger. Thanks so much.
Your thoughts on these allegations, just how serious do you think they are?
Well, I think it's a very serious situation that is going to expose a broader network of human trafficking and possibly gang-related activity both in Canada and in India. For some time now, we've known that Canadian institutions have relied heavily on recruitment of students from India and South Asia more widely to bring numbers in and to bolster the revenues of universities and colleges across the country. So we've known there's been a demand and a push for more student visas from India and South Asia. But the concerning thing, especially with the Patel case, is looking at some of the smaller private colleges that have shot up in places like Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. What is their role in particular in facilitating this potential for human trafficking that we've seen exposed with the Patel story just in the last couple of days?
A lot of these colleges are absolute fakes. They start up sometimes even in strip malls, and they get associated to these larger institutions, these institutions that are certified with the Canadian government. And those institutions don't really care too much because they get money from these smaller institutions because of cutbacks from the Canadian government. They need these international students. And this is a huge problem because they are also bringing in international students. They're bringing in international students that are taking up positions in their institutions that Canadians could be taking. I know that my daughters, who are going to university now, they had problems getting into university, not because of their marks, but because there were only limited spots for Canadians, and there were also a lot of spots for foreign students. The universities love foreign students because the foreign students pay the full price. They can't charge Canadian students as much money. So there are less positions for Canadian students. Now, those are legitimate students, but they also get money from these illegitimate students who are going to these fly-by-night colleges that are run in these strip malls across Canada. And a lot of times, these are complete scams. They come to Canada some of them are actually coming to Canada to get a degree or to go to school, but others are paying these exorbitant amounts of money just to be trafficked into the United States. And because these colleges get these agreements and associations with these bigger universities, they pay a certain amount of money to these universities for that privilege from these people that they're trafficking. So in essence, a lot of universities in Canada they may not know it, but they are part of a human trafficking ring. Now, that's an issue.
And is there any indication this has slowed down, or just how bad this actually was?
Well, the data from the U.S. Border Patrol is giving something along the lines of about 16,000 crossings that they've detected of persons with Indian citizenship coming from Canada. Now, of which those parties were tied to either these colleges or to this network. That's still debatable. We have to figure out what the data looks like there.
He's right. It is debatable because that's not the number of people who are actually jumping the border. That is the number of people that are being caught. As we know, because we've heard the borders are talking about this, that they don't have a lot of resources on the Canadian border. Most of the resources are on the Mexican border. So a lot of people are getting over the border, not being detected. Generally speaking, more people are not detected when they jump the border and when they do crime than are detected. So what is that real number? It's probably significantly higher than those who have actually been intercepted.
But what we do know is that there are established recruiting systems within India that look for students, that look for youth to say, come over to Canada. It's an ideal place to learn and study. We'll take your credentials from whatever facility or education institution it is in India. We can even sort of bypass the English requirement or the French requirement. Come on over and we'll set you up. That recruitment's been going on for quite some time. And what the story used to be is that some of these private colleges were serving as means for people to then be fed into the more legitimate colleges and university systems across the country. But we're seeing that some of these outfits were actually pretty ramshackle. A couple institutions that were established in Alberta were basically just fly-by-night private businesses that were offering very little other than just an outdated course on Microsoft Word. But once people get into the country with a student visa, if there's vulnerability, if there's susceptibility to being influenced by human trafficking, that's where it's going to start.
No, he's absolutely wrong there. It doesn't start in Canada. The majority of these people who are jumping the border, who are coming here illegally to jump the border, that is starting in India. They know that there are at least 2 criminal organizations who are bringing people in for that purpose. And that's what's getting Trump all hot under the collar. So when Trump makes these threats about tariffs, he actually wants us to do something about these types of things. People getting into our country illegally for the purpose of jumping the border. And he's got a legitimate point there. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. Also, please join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream on YouTube and on Rumble, where you can join in on the conversation. Finally, I do teach the Canadian firearms safety courses. These courses are requirements for getting your firearms license. So if you want a firearms license and you reside on Vancouver Island, there are links in the show notes of this video to my website where you can sign up to take a course from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.